Man, do I have something special to talk about today. You will not want to miss this. Hey everybody, it is Aaron from Warmoth, and this is a Stratocaster replacement body that has been bronzed. And you may or may not be familiar with what's going on here. If you're not, let me give you just a little bit of history. This is kind of a tribute to a very unique Stratocaster that was played by Robbie Robertson of the band The Band. You may have heard this Stratocaster referred to as the Last Waltz Stratocaster. And there were some very unique things about that guitar. First and foremost, that it was bronzed. Secondly, that it has a very unique pickup configuration. Of course, you can't see it because I don't have this guitar built yet. But it had a standard Stratocaster pickup in the neck, but the middle pickup was scooched up to next to the bridge pickup, and they kind of were snuggling together up there in kind of a pseudo slanted humbucker fashion. And as time has gone on, a lot of people have really developed the warm fuzzies for that guitar, just because it's so unique. It represents such a specific moment in time that everybody's kind of nostalgic for. And it's just a cool guitar. And as a result, there have been a lot of, well, not a lot, there have been a few reissues. In fact, Fender did one fairly recently, like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I'm pretty sure they're all gone now, but I saw one on Reverb just the other day for $24,000, I believe. And in fact, Warmoth has done a couple of bronzed Strat replacement bodies in the past. Probably 10 years ago, we did a couple, and one of them actually went to Jason Becker. And you know, a lot of people who weren't alive back in the day look at this and go, why would you bronze a Stratocaster? That's so weird. But you know, back in the 60s and 70s, I was born in 68, so I was just there for a little bit of the 60s, but I was there for all the 70s. Back in those days, it was kind of part of the cultural zeitgeist to have important items bronzed. I remember as a kid, I saw lots of babies' first shoes bronzed. I remember another time I saw some baseball gloves from important games that had been bronzed. So, you know, I think just because it was part of that cultural zeitgeist back then, and also because he wanted just to commemorate this Strat, I think those are probably the reasons why Robbie Robertson had his Strat body bronzed. It was originally red, but by bronzing it, he made it an icon. And the bronzing process, first of all, this is bronzed by the same bronzery that actually did Robbie Robertson's guitars. And if we go forward with the plan to have some of these done, that's where these will all be bronzed at, the same place that did his. And the bronzing process is really interesting, and it leaves some interesting artifacts. First of all, you can see here these two spots on the edge of the guitar. Those are where the nodes or whatever touch for the bronzing process. And so those little artifacts are always there. Another thing that is definitely a trademark of a bronzed body is it's kind of heavy. You know, you're never going to get a super lightweight Strat body when you coat it in bronze. And another cool thing about it is it just forms so perfectly to the surface of the body that you can actually see, you know, wood grain and stuff in the bronze. But it's important to know that the bronzing process, the bronze doesn't adhere to the body like you know, some kind of a paint or finish would. What you actually have is a shell, like a shell, a very tight-fitting shell all around the body, but it doesn't actually adhere to it. And because of that, you'll get just a lot of kind of weird traits. Like you can kind of see right here that it's kind of bubbled up a little bit right there. In the back, it's also bubbled up a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just you know, a trait of bronzing a body. It's just weird to think that there's like a free-floating body inside this bronze shell, but that's really what it is. I want to run down some of the other parts that I'm going to be using in this build. This is the neck I'm going to be using, and this is a genuine Fender 57 reissue neck we could have used one of our necks, but it just seemed fitting for this build to use a genuine Fender. So we went out and bought this with our own money. If you want to know more about this neck, I just finished an entire video where I compared this neck to a similarly spec'd Warmoth neck. I just did that last week, so go look at last week's video and you'll get all the information you could possibly want about this neck. But this is the neck we'll be using. And I have a whole mess of hardware here. Mostly it's Godot vintage spec'd stuff that Warmoth sells. And lastly, let's talk about the pickups and the pickguard. You know, we were considering all kinds of options. Do we cut the pickguard ourselves? Where do we source the pickups from? And we were doing all kinds of research, and then we came across Migas Touch pickups, and it was like the heavens opened. Greg Migas is a pickup winder who I think focuses on single coil pickups, you know, Stratocaster, Telecaster, P90s. And he sells a Robbie Robertson Stratocaster loaded pickguard. And we were just like, oh my gosh, we reached out and talked to him, and he has done so much research, like an obsessive amount of research, to make sure every detail of these pickups and this pickguard are as close to Robbie's as he could get. Let me open this box for you. First of all, the packaging is pretty primo. So here's what the pickguard looks like, and just even the foam cutout was impressive. I know it's just, I'm being wowed by the packaging, but I just thought that alone was pretty impressive. But here is the pickguard. This is what the Robbie Robertson pickguard looks like. And you can see, like I said, he has these two, well, the center pickup is moved up to snuggle up with the bridge pickup in kind of a pseudo humbucker thing. And again, the research that Greg Migas has done to get all this stuff right on here is crazy. The neck pickup is wound to be a 54 neck pickup. The middle pickup is a left-handed 59 pickup flipped upside down, and then the bridge pickup is a 69 bridge pickup. And if you look, you can see that he even has like mismatched colors for the pickup covers, which is just like crazy attention to detail. And then of course he has tele knobs on here, which is what Robbie had on his. And all the wiring and everything is just super neat. All the specs of the caps and everything are exactly what they should be. The blade switch is a 3-way blade switch. Position 1 is both of these pickups. Position 2 is all 3 pickups. And then position 3 is just the neck pickup, which is all just like Robbie's was. So yeah, this work here is just super impressive, and we were so happy to find this. And now I'm super anxious to get this guitar built, because I've never heard this before, and I'm really excited to hear that. So let's build this guitar, and then I'll play a little bit and we can see what we got. is in all of its glory. There's the front and the back. It's always tricky to get a reflective guitar like this well lit without getting a bunch of glare, but I'm doing my best here. And for those who may be wondering, yes, I did weigh it. The final weight on the guitar is 8 pounds 15 ounces, so it's basically a 9-pound guitar, which is kind of heavy for an S-style guitar, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not the heaviest I've ever seen. You know, there are Les Pauls that go up to 12 pounds, so it's about 9 pounds, all said and done. And of course, I've already played around and noodled on it and plugged it in because I just couldn't wait to hear what it sounds like. And I have to say, I really dig the Migas Touch pickguard and pickups and this configuration here. And I shall tell you why. I don't know if you're like me and you've ever tried to combine a humbucker with single coils in the same guitar, but it's always this weird compromise, like do you use 500K pots, do you use 250K pots? And I know there are ways around that where you can make the different pickups see different values. You know, besides that, it's always like the humbucker kind of overpowers the single coils, or to try and balance them out, you have to get a really low output humbucker. It's always just, it never works for me. But this configuration with having 2 single coils, this is not a humbucker, it's 2 single coils pushed up next to each other. It just really works well because you can give everything 250K pots. These don't overpower this, but you still get a humbuckerish kind of sound. And I have to say that one of my favorite sounds is actually the middle position when you get all 3. I quite liked that, and I'll play some clips here for you in just a second, but that is one thing I really like about this pickup configuration with this Migas Touch pickguard and pickups. It sounds really good. And that is it. That is this killer guitar with a genuine Fender 57 reissue neck, a killer Warmoth Strat replacement body that has been bronzed, the Migas Touch Robbie Robertson Stratocaster loaded pickguard and pickups. And I really enjoyed putting it together and getting to hear this configuration finally. And even if I weren't going for the Robbie Robertson thing, I still might check out one of these pickguards. I just think it's a better solution than mixing humbuckers and single coils. At least that's what I heard. What did you hear? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you'd be into getting a bronzed body. The reason we're doing this build is because Warmoth is considering doing a short run of these bronzed body. We're going to use the feedback of this video to gauge how many to make and where we should take this project. So let me hear it all. Put it in the comments. And here is a little insider tip that I normally wouldn't divulge, but I feel like we're close. If you like this look and you want to try one of these Migas Touch pickguards, but you're not into the whole bronzed thing, what I would do is go to the Warmoth website and order up a Strat replacement body with the universal route and then have it done with our copper finish. It doesn't look exactly the same, but it's close, and with the Migas Touch pickguard, it's going to get you into this universe. Shh, don't tell anybody I told you that. If you have any more questions about any Warmoth products, make sure and visit our website or give our customer service reps a call. And until next time, keep on picking.